Okay, so quadratic formula. We all know it now, right? Maybe. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Okay, so negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. What was that? I'm sorry? We're still finding solutions. So, okay. So remember when we were factoring, we had all the different ways to factor, and I said if you use the super x, it will always work? If we want to find solutions of quadratic equations, the quadratic formula will always work. Okay, so if you don't want to factor, you don't want to do completing the square, you don't want to take square roots, you can always use the quadratic formula. Now, the process is a little bit longer, so it's probably not the best option if you know how to do the other things, but if you can't remember, this is kind of where you can go back to. And we are literally plugging in numbers into the equation and then simplifying. Adrian. 4 times A times C. Okay. But I do want to give you a note. Your equation must be in standard form, which we should know, right? Yes, Miss Bird, I know what standard form is. Okay. And once it's in standard form, it will be set equal to 0. Okay? We're finding solutions, so we're finding out what our variable equals. Okay. So.
Is that what you needed?
Yes, I needed some got it, we understand. So 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. Before we plug any numbers in, we need to make sure that we can identify what my A, my B, and my C are. We should know those from when we factored. What is A? 2. It is just the number in front of the variable. So A is 2. What is B? 3. What is C? Negative 5. Okay? If you know A, B, and C, at this point it is a matter of plugging in those numbers to the quadratic formula. So that's what we're going to do together. Ready? Okay. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. So I literally replaced A, B, and C with the A, B, and C I identified here. Are we okay with that step? Okay, so here we're going to simplify. Now, I'm going to go through and literally write every single step. Once we've done a couple of these, you'll be able to do some of it in your head, and I don't expect every single step written out. But for now, we're going to do that, okay? So, x equals negative b, or negative 3 plus or minus. Now I'm going to simplify. 3 squared is 9. And then negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 5 is a positive 40. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. So basically I was getting rid of all those parentheses. I can continue to simplify, right? So negative 3 plus or minus 9 plus 40 is 49. All over 4. Can I simplify anything else? What? The square root of 49. So I have negative 3 plus or minus 7. All over 4. How many answers do you think you're going to have?
2.
2. So you have a negative 3 plus 7 over 4. And you have a negative 3 minus 7 over 4. And we need to simplify that if possible. And we also need to keep our answer as a fraction. So negative 3 plus 7 gives me 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So my first answer is 1. Negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10 over 4. Now I know that doesn't go into evenly, but can I simplify it? By 2. So it would be 5 halves. Negative 5 halves. It is a lot of work. Okay, yes. So this would not be my first option, right? I would rather factor. I would rather take a square root. I would rather complete the square if possible. This particular one can be factored because we get nothing with a square root, right? We can't factor anything and have a square root in our answer. So this one I could have factored. But you need to know this process, because what if you don't see that? This will always work. Okay? Completing the square would be awful on this, because if you divide through by 2, what's going to happen here? You're going to have fractions, and we all know how much you love fractions. That was sarcasm. Okay. What'd you say? Okay. Can we try one? It's not, no. It's not hard. It's just but it is a lengthy process. It's not hard. You can also skip some of these in between steps if you can simplify like off to the side. I'm okay with that. However, by not writing down all your steps, you're more likely to screw it up. Right? Okay, so let's together identify A, B, and C, and then I want you to see if you can plug it in. So what is A? 1. Good. What is B?
2. Negative 2.
Negative 2. And C?
Negative 4.
Okay. So try to take A, B, and C and plug it into the equation and see how far you can get. Or with your group. Do you want me to do it with you?
No, it's okay. We can be independent.
Okay. Aaliyah says you can be independent. Okay, so if I plug it into the formula, I get x equals, now the formula says negative b, but b is already negative, so what's going to happen? It's going to be positive. Did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Because it's negative already in the formula, negative times negative 2 becomes positive 2. Okay. Plus or minus the square root. Now this stays negative 2 squared minus 4 times A times C.
Why does that say negative 2 squared?
Because it's B versus a negative B.
Okay.
Okay. All over 2 times A. Did we get that far, maybe other than this mistake here? We didn't get that far? Okay. But that's only going to mess up the very, very end of it. Okay. Did you erase all of it? Okay, good. Don't erase all of it. So if you forgot to make this positive and you kept it negative, it doesn't mess up the entire thing. It just messes up the very, very end. Okay? So don't erase everything. Let's just see where you went wrong. So it's 2 plus or minus. Now what's negative 2 squared? 4. And then negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16 all over 2. Okay? Let's keep simplifying. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 20 over 2.
Oh, you're adding.
Mm-hmm. Does 20 simplify?
No. So you can divide it.
You can simplify that square root.
5 and 4. I mean, that becomes 2, right? Equal 5.
Okay, so x equals 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 5 over 2. I don't know. Is that all? Is there anything that looks like it could be simplified? Okay. If the number on the bottom in the numerator, or any number that is divisible by the numerator, can go into both of these, then you can simplify. So for instance, 2 goes into itself once, and once. I can simplify all three things. If all three don't simplify, which it won't in the next problem, and I can show you, then you cannot simplify it.
Do you have to simplify it?
Do you have to simplify it? Yes. The answer is x equals 1 plus or minus 1 square root of 5. We'll keep practicing them. Okay.
So it's going to be extra credit tomorrow?
Probably.
These are going to be extra credit?
There's one question like this on your quiz. But I'm going to give you the formula tomorrow.
Oh, our quiz is tomorrow, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Yes. Yep, this one right here. Okay, let me write it bigger so you can see. So I can simplify because 2 goes into itself in all three of these cases, right? I can simplify it. So 2 goes into itself once, 2 goes into itself once, 2 goes into itself once. So I'm left with 1 plus or minus 1 square root of 5 over 1, but I don't need this part, right? Because anything divisible by 1 is just itself. If you write it like this, I'm not going to mark it wrong, but you don't need that denominator. The difference would be something like this. Okay, this I cannot simplify. Why not? Because 2 doesn't go into 3. It has to go into all three of those terms in order to simplify.
Would that be the final answer?
If it doesn't, this is your answer. Just like that. I'm not asking you to do anything else with it. You just have to put a box around it. Yes. I don't think so. I don't think so. Super big, like as in what? Probably not. Okay. All right. We can do this one together if it makes you feel better. Okay, so 2x squared equals 8x minus 7. I'm going to do it with you. Oh, okay, but hold up. What's wrong before we even do anything?
Move that on to this side.
It's not in standard form, so I would like you to all listen to me carefully because you did not all listen to me carefully on the last test. Your x squared term should be positive. It will make your life a whole lot easier, which means you need to move everything to the x squared and do not move the x squared and make it negative. Yep, I've said it a few times, right? So we're going to subtract 8x and we're going to add 7 because I want x squared to be positive. So 2x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals 0. Now you're in standard form. Now it's set equal to 0. Now you can solve. So you want to try this one? Okay. Okay. So A is 2, B is negative 8, C is 7. Just the numbers. Okay? So x equals, B is already negative, so it's going to be positive. Did you catch that? Okay. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. That should be your setup. So 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times 7 all over 2 times 2. So far so good? Okay. X equals 8 plus or minus the square root. Negative 8 squared is 64. 4 times 2, or negative 4 times 2 is 8, negative 8. Negative 8 times 7, negative 56. all over 4. I'm going to come up here. 8 plus or minus the square root. 64 minus 56.
8.
8. All over 4. Right? Can I simplify the square root of 8?
Yep.
Yes. 4 and 2 and 2 and 2. So I can pull out a 2. So I have x equals 8 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 4. Is there anything else that I can do?
Nope.
2 goes into 4, 8, and 2.
You can reverse it?
You always simplify as long as it goes into all 3 places. So, did you get this far? You will get 99.9% of the points. So now, we're going to divide by 2 because it goes into all of those numbers.
So is it?
So, final answer is 4 plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2.
You would add the 1 in front of it?
You can put the 1 in front of it, but you don't need it. If you put the 1 and you like it there, then leave it there. Okay? Okay. It's a blast.
Look, it's like that thing in science.